So hello everyone, starting with today's lecture. In previous lecture we study about dose, potency and repetition. Now in today's lecture we are going to start with a second prescription. I think all of you know about second prescription. Who can tell me about what is mean by second prescription? Anyone? What is mean by second prescription? What is second prescription? No one. मग फक्त चेंज करतो तेव्हाच म्हणायचं का? कशाला म्हणायचं सेकंड प्रिस्क्रिप्शन? सेकंड प्रिस्क्रिप्शन म्हणजे जेव्हा तुमचं फर्स्ट प्रिस्क्रिप्शन ॲक्ट झालं आणि त्याच्यानंतर तुम्ही सेकंडली पेशंटला काहीतरी प्रिस्क्राईब करता, तर त्या कंडिशनला काय म्हणायचं आपल्याला? सेकंड प्रिस्क्रिप्शन. दॅट इज अ सेकंड प्रिस्क्रिप्शन इज द वन दॅट इज मेड आफ्टर द फर्स्ट हॅज ॲक्टेड. तुमचं फर्स्ट प्रिस्क्रिप्शन ॲक्ट झाल्याच्या नंतर भले ते पॉझिटिव्हली ॲक्ट होईल, नेगेटिव्हली ॲक्ट होईल, कसं पण ॲक्ट होईल, पण त्याच्यानंतर जे तुम्ही सेकंडली प्रिस्क्राईब करणार आहेत पेशंटला, त्याला काय म्हणायचं तुम्हाला? सेकंड प्रिस्क्रिप्शन. याच्यामध्ये व्हॉट इज द नीड ऑफ सेकंड प्रिस्क्रिप्शन? सेकंड प्रिस्क्रिप्शन का द्यावं लागतं आपल्याला? In this we are going to discuss the different point about the need of second prescription. That is, the need of second prescription arises when the first prescription has acted well but further relief is halted. That is, first prescription has acted well but further relief is needed or halted. There is need of again relief. In that case you can prescribe a second prescription. This is the first need. Then second need, a new set of symptoms unrelated to the old one appears. That is, you have appearance of new symptoms unrelated to the old one appears. In that case also you have to give the second prescription. Then the third need of the second prescription is that there is an acute exacerbation of chronic diseases. That is, the patient is suffering from chronic diseases and in between he is suffering from acute exacerbation of his chronic complaints. In that case you also need the second prescription. Then the next need is the symptoms disappears but no relief felt. That is, symptoms are disappearing but no relief felt in a patient. In that case also you have a need of second prescription. Then the symptoms disappear irregularly without following Hering's law. That is, symptoms are disappearing but disappears in an irregular way. That is, without following the Hering's law of cure. In that case also you have to need to prescribe the second prescription. Then the next need is a miasm is active either singly or in combination. There is a need of anti-miasmatic treatment. In that case also you have to prescribe the second prescription. And the next need is the disease has progressed from the functional stage to the affecting the organs of the body. That is, if the disease is progressing, your remedy not acted well, in that case also you have to give the next remedy or you have to change the remedy. In that case also you have to give the second prescription. So in this, the first, the definition of second prescription and the need of second prescription. So in definition of second prescription, a second prescription is the one that is made after the first has acted, that we call it as a second prescription. Then the need of second prescription. In need of second prescription there are different points. In this, first is regarding the first prescription has acted well but the further relief is halted. In that case also you have to give the second prescription. Then next, a new set of symptoms unrelated to the old ones appears. that is appearance of new symptoms unrelated to the old symptoms. In that case also you have to give the second prescription. Then there is a acute exacerbation of chronic diseases. Then next is symptoms disappears but no relief is felt in patient. The next need is symptoms disappear irregularly without following Hering's law. The next, a miasm is active either singly or in combination. And the next, the disease has progressed from the functional stage of to the affecting the organs of the body. So these are the different point in which you have to need the prescribe the second prescription. So all of you understand first definition and second point need of second prescription. Yes, you understand? Are you listening? Okay, you have understand the definition, that is second prescription is the one that is made after the first has acted, that we call it as a second prescription. Now the second point is the need of second prescription. What is the need of second prescription? In this they explain the different points. In this they give the 7 points regarding the need of second prescription. In this first point is first prescription has acted well but further relief is halted. That is first prescription, first remedy is acted well but there is a standstill condition or the total relief is not occurred. In that case also you have to give the second prescription. This is first point. Second point, a new set of symptoms unrelated to the old one appears. That is, new group of symptoms appeared in the case that are unrelated to the old ones that appeared in the case. Then the third point is the acute exacerbation of the chronic diseases. There is a acute exacerbation of chronic diseases means a patient is suffering from chronic disease but in between he has having a acute exacerbation of his complaint, that is his complaints are increasing in between the time. In that time that symptoms we call it as a acute exacerbation of chronic diseases, and for this complaints you have to give some remedy to the patient, and that we call it as a second prescription during the acute exacerbation of chronic diseases. Then next, symptoms disappear but no relief is felt. That is, symptoms disappear in a patient but patient don't feeling relief. That condition also indicates the second prescription. Then next is symptoms disappear irregularly without following Hering's law. That is, the symptoms must follow the Hering's law while they are disappeared. But if they do not show the symptoms disappear in an irregular way, in that case you have to give the second prescription. Then in cases where a miasm is active either singly or in combination, in that case you have to prescribe the anti-miasmatic treatment, and for this reason you have to prescribe the second prescription. And the next point, the disease has progressed from the functional level to the affecting the organs of the body, that is functional changes goes to the structural changes. In that cases also you have to prescribe the second prescription. So now understand the need of second prescription. Yes. Yes, are you able to listen? Are you able to listen? Okay, so understand that these 2 points, first definition and second need of second prescription. Now we shift towards the next point, that is second prescription may be, that is the classes of second prescription. And in these classes of second prescription, in this they explain some points and some points are present in a book. So first I will explain about these classes or the second prescription may be of different types. In this the types of second prescription, so first we will see the type that is given in that PPT, and after this we will see the types given in the books. So these are all correct types, but different authors describe according to their availability. So in that case, we will see first the prescriptions that is related to or given in the PPTs. So in this they gave the second prescription may be repetition of the first, it may be change in the potency, it may be change in the remedy, it may be alterations of remedies, it may be intercurrent remedies, it may be isopathy and no sorts that is used in the prescription, and then next is miasmatic remedies. So in this addition to this, there may be a antidote of remedy, or there may be cognate remedy, or there may be a complementary remedy. So these are the different types of second prescription. So in this we will first see the different types of second prescription in this PPT. So in this, the first they explain about the repetition of the first. What is the second prescription? The repetition of the first, that is repetition of the remedies. That is, if we give the first patient to the Nux vomica, in second prescription also we are prescribing the Nux vomica to the patient. That is the repetition of that remedy, that we call it as a repetition of the remedies. So in this, the repetition of the first prescription is indicated when the disappeared symptoms have appeared. So what are the indications of repetition of the remedies? That is, repetition of the first prescription is indicated when the disappeared symptoms have appeared. That is, after giving the first prescription, there is disappearance of a symptoms, but after some time the disappeared symptoms again reappeared. In that cases, you have to repeat the same remedy which you give in the first prescription. Then repetition should be in the same potency and in the same doses as on the previous occasion. So the repetition may be in the same potency or in a higher potency. That is, in some cases you repeat the same medicine with the same potency, but in some cases you have to need to increase the potency of that medicine with the same medicines. That is, you have to give the Nux vomica but in a higher potency. For example, first prescription is Nux vomica 30. In some cases, you may need the Nux vomica 200. So it is the repetition of a same remedy with increasing potency. So this is the indication of the repetition of the remedies. So this is first type of second prescription, that is repetition of the remedies. Then second is change in potency. What is the change in the potency? So in this, a change in potency is indicated when the response is no longer obtainable. That is, a change in potency is indicated when it is indicated, that is, it is indicated when the response is no longer obtained. That is, you select the same or a similar remedy for the case, but in that cases you do not get the result what you want. So in that cases, there is when the response is no longer obtainable, in that cases you have to change the potency of that remedy. That is, if in a prior cases you prescribe the 200 potency, in next level you may prescribe the 1 m potency, that may be obtainable or that may act on that patient. So in that cases you have to change the potency of that remedy. Then in case of no source, instead of repeating the same potency, one should rather move on to the next higher potency in order to avoid undesirable aggravations. That is, in case of no source, when you are using the no source, that is, the remedy is prescribed, constitutional remedy you prescribe, but in between you need the no source of that cases. In that case, when you are using the no source, that is, instead of repeating the same potency, one should rather move on to the next higher potency. That is, if you are prescribing the no source, if first you prescribe the medicine with 200 potency and in between you need the no source, in that cases while prescribing the no source you have to prescribe the no source with 1 m potency. Which are the no source? No source, what is mean by no source? Anyone? Yes, but what is the main theme of no source? Yes, what is mean by no source? You studied in pharmacy. Or the which are the remedy that are related to no source? Yes, no source are the remedy which are prepared from the same deceased product, that is tuberculinum. Remedy is prepared from the tuberculosis, the secretions of the tuberculosis. So that we call it as a no source. So in between, when you need the no source to complete the action of that remedy, you have to increase the potency of that no source to the next level. That is, if you prescribe the 200 potency of any medicine, and in between if you need some no source, for example you need a tuberculinum, so when you are prescribing the tuberculinum, you have to prescribe the tuberculinum 1 m, that is the next level of the given prescribing medicine. So in that cases, the second prescription may be the change of potency. So this is the second type of second prescription, that is change of potency. In that also, when the highest potency is the in the scale has been reached with adequate reaction, that is when you have to give the second prescription of change of potency, that is when the highest potency in the scale has been reached with adequate reaction, that is the action of 1 m is over. In that cases you have to prescribe the medicine with 10 m. Then the very often sensitivity to the lower potency like 30 gets re-established and one can revert to it with advantages. That is, some patients are sensitive to low potency. So in that cases you have to prescribe the higher potency. So in that cases you have to change the potency of that remedy. So this is the second point, that is change of potency. Now the third point regarding the second prescription is the change in remedy. In what conditions or what are the indications that indicates to the change in remedy. So while giving the change in remedy or doing the change in remedy, a change in remedy will be indicated only if symptomatology indicates a definite change in the picture. That is, when you have to change the remedy, that is when the symptomatology indicates a definite change in the picture, that is the whole picture of the disease gets changed. In that cases you have to change the remedy, otherwise you have to repeat the remedy or you have to change the potency of the remedy or all the other types of second prescription. But when the symptomatology of the indicated disease gets changed or that symptomatology indicates a definite change in the picture of a disease, in that case you have to change the remedy in that second prescription, or the minor changes should not be considered significant. When there is a minor changes, we should not be considered it as a significant, but when there are major changes occurred, in that case you have to change the remedy. And in these cases one should always use the relationship section, that is in that cases while changing the remedy, first you consider the relationship of that remedies, that is there any relationship. In that you may use the cognate remedy, you may use the complementary remedy, you may use the antimiasmatic remedy. So while changing the remedy you must use the relationship section of that remedy. So this is the indications for the change in the remedy, where the symptomatology indicates a definite change in the picture of the disease. So this is third type. In that also they explain a points, that is a case which has ceased to progress further will be another indications for the changing the prescription. That is a case which has ceased the progress, that is if all the progress is ceased, in that case also there is an indication for the changing the prescription of that case. Then in these instances miasmatic history might indicates some no source. or in some cases it may indicate some no source also. At times a remedy like sulfur or sorinum might be indicated as an intercurrent remedy which restores the sensitivity to the constitutional remedy. That is, while at a times remedy like sulfur or sorinum might be indicated as an intercurrent remedy. That is, first you prescribe the sulfur to the patient, but in between intercurrent remedy may require to complete the cure, that may be a sorinum which restores the sensitivity of the constitutional remedy. So these are the different indications that is used in the change of remedy for a second prescription. In this, a severe aggravation or response contrary to a law of direction of cure might require exhibitions of the antidote. That is, the cases in which there is a severe aggravation or a response contrary to the law of directions of cure, means where there is a severe aggravation, in that case you may require an antidote or it may be a change of remedy. Then a chronic case with adequate repertorial analysis with therapeutic bucket book represents not only the constitutional remedy but also acute remedies and intercurrent remedies also. That is, in chronic cases, uh, after prescribing the constitutional remedy, you may need, that is acute remedy in acute exacerbations, or you may need the intercurrent remedies to complete the action of that constitutional remedy. So these may be the indications for the change of a remedy. And as soon as the acute trouble is over, the administration of the constitutional remedy shorten the convalescences. That is, when you give the acute remedy in between, after this when you give the constitutional remedy, the case may goes into the cure, or the period of a cure becomes lesser and lesser. So these are the different indications for the change of remedy while giving the second prescription. Then the next is alterations of the remedies. So before seeing the alterations of the remedy, first we will revise. First we will see the, that is change in the or the repetition of the remedy. That is, first is repetition of the remedies. Second one, change in the potency. Third one, change in the remedy. And now fourth one is alterations of the remedy. What is the alterations of the remedies? That is, there will have to be considered in acute case with symptomatology alterning in between the two definite groups. That is, you have a symptomatology of two different groups. In that case you have to alter the remedies, or in that cases where you find the alterations of the symptoms, in that case you may require these two groups of remedy or two definite groups. In that, for example, in some cases you require a bryonia, but in same case after some time you may require a Rustox. So this is the alteration of remedies. That is, if bryonia is not acting and symptoms get altered, in that case Rustox may act, or in some cases if Rustox is not acting, you can alter the remedy, that is bryonia. So this is the alterations of the remedies. Then next is intercurrent remedy. So what is the intercurrent remedy? That is, intercurrent remedies, especially anti-miasmatic remedy, can be given in cases where the action of well indicated remedy gets blocked. So when you are giving the anti-miasmatic treatment to the patient, but in between there is a stoppage of a cure, or condition becomes standstill, in that cases you may require intercurrent remedy. That is, the remedy which act in between the or during the anti-miasmatic treatment, and can be given in cases where the action of a indicated remedy gets blocked. When the action of that indicated remedy gets blocked, to remove that block you need a intercurrent remedy. And after prescribing the intercurrent remedy, after some time you have to repeat the first, that using the remedy, that is anti-miasmatic remedy. So the patient goes towards the cure. So this is the use of a intercurrent remedy. That is, intercurrent remedy, especially anti-miasmatic remedy, can be given in cases where the action of a well indicated remedy gets blocked. So in this you may take example as a, if you are prescribing some medicines to the patient, that is the patient is in a psychotic miasm and you prescribe some medicines, that is for example you are prescribing the Naxomica in a psychotic miasm. So this is the constitutional remedy of that human being, but if the action of that Naxomica gets blocked and patient is in a psychotic miasm, so you have to use the Thuja as a psychotic remedy, as an intercurrent remedy in between the treatment to remove the block of that Naxomica. So this is the using of intercurrent remedy, that is especially anti-miasmatic remedy can be given in cases where the action of a well indicated remedy gets blocked. So this is the one of the type of second prescription, that is intercurrent remedies. Then next is the use of isopathy and no source in some cases in second prescription. So in this, in case of definite history of contact with some chemical or drug with severe allergic reaction, the same chemical or a drug administered in high potency is known to have been cured, and in some septic conditions nosodes like staphylococcine, then streptococcine in potencies beyond 30 have been proved very helpful. So what is this isopathy and nosodes? In case of definite history of contact with some chemicals or a drug, that is if you are having a poisonous reaction or allergic reaction to some chemicals or drug that you have no, in that cases you have to use the potency form of that chemicals or drug, and that potency form of that chemicals or drug can act very well and can lead to a cured. For example, if you having a arsenic poisoning, that is arsenic poisoning, or some patients are allergic to some arsenic elements, that is arsenic in crude form, and if the patient is no, he having a arsenic poisoning, in that cases if he use the arsenic in potentized form, in a dynamic form, in that dynamic form that arsenic may act very well and the patient may go in a state of cure. So this is one of the example that is related to isopathy and the nosodes. Same condition may be applied for the nosodes also. And in some septic conditions, nosodes like staphylococcine and the streptococcine in potency beyond 30 have been proved very helpful. That is, patient is in a severe septic conditions. The patient suffering from an infection of staphylococci or streptococci. In that case, if the secretions of that staphylococci or streptococci when used in a potency form, that is beyond 30, if you use the potency form of that secretions of staphylococci and streptococci, that may act very well and the septic condition may be recovered very fast. So this is the use of isopathy and nosodes in some conditions where you know the what is the chemicals or the drugs or nosodes that are acting. Then variolinum, morbillinum or influenzinum etc. have been employed slowly on indications that ill health dated from an attack of smallpox, measles or influenza. So this may be the use of a different potency form of secretions that may uh, found in a diseases like smallpox, measles or influenza. So this is the use of isopathy and nosodes as a second prescription in the cases. Then the next is miasmatic remedies, that is use of miasmatic remedy as a second prescription. So in this it is explained as, in obscure cases a history of vaccination may suggest remedies like Thuja or Malandrinum which may either cure or clear it up and furnishes good indications for the constitutional remedies. That is, use of a miasmatic remedies means you have to use that particular remedy according to the cause of a disease or that may be found in a history of patient, or in mixed miasmatic cases where the entire picture does not indicates any single remedy. In that cases also you can prescribe a medicine on the basis of miasm, and that we call it as a miasmatic treatment or miasmatic remedies. This is also one of the type of second prescription. So all of you understand these various types of second prescription. In this we studied first one, that is repetition of the repetition of the remedies. Second one, change in the potency. Third, change in the remedy. Then next we will see, that is the intercurrent remedies, alter alternating remedies, then miasmatic remedies, isopathy and no source. So these are the different types that is explained in this PPT. After this again we are going to see different types from the book. So all of you understand these remedies or these types of second prescription, or any difficulty regarding any type? Yes, all of you understand. In this we see first, that is what is mean by second prescription. So what is mean by second prescription? Second prescription is the one that is made after the first has acted, that we call it as a second prescription. Then there is a need of second prescription. What is the need? So in this we study the different points regarding the need of second prescription. Then the third point, that is types of second prescription. In this we studied these different types of second prescription, that is repetition of the first, change in the potency, change in the remedy, alteration of remedies, intercurrent remedies, isopathy and no source, and miasmatic remedies. So all of you understand these from these PPTs. We will again see some types from the books also. Up till now it is clear, all of you? Yes, Siddhi, it is clear. Yes, are you able to listen? Okay. So now we will see the different types from the books also. So in this, the different types from the book, they describe the different types as a second prescription as a complementary remedy, then antidotal remedy, then repetition of the remedy, change of remedy, then cognate, and the low potency remedy. So these are the different types according to the book. So first we will see the first type, that is complementary remedy, when we have to use complementary remedy as a second prescription. So in this Dr. Clark says, when a remedy has done all that it can in a case, then another remedy is likely to follow up and complete its action, both being related to the case. So we're starting the different types in this first, that is complementary remedy. So what is complementary remedy? That is, Dr. Clark says, when a remedy has done all that it can in a case, then another remedy is likely to follow up and complete its action, both being related to the case. That is, if you prescribe a first remedy and that first remedy complete its action, there is a need of second remedy, and that second remedy that is related to that first remedy, that we call it as a complementary remedy. So in this, Dr. Boning Hussain says some remedies are in harmony with others. The most similar one, as a rule, are complementary. That is, there may be some relation between these remedies, and this relation we call it as a complementary to one another. One remedy is complementary to the other remedy. So in this, they also divided the complementary remedies, that is types of complementary remedies, different types of complementary remedies. So types of complementary remedies can be, that is acute to chronic complementary. That is, some remedies are acute and that having a chronic complementary remedy. Then second type, that is natural complementary. That is, some remedies having a natural complementary remedy that is present in nature. Then third type is acute to acute complementary. That is, the first remedy is also acute and the remedy, second remedy, which is also acute complementary remedy to the first remedy. So these are the three types of complementary remedies. So when you need the complementary remedies, so in this first type, that is acute to chronic complementary, this is first type, acute to chronic complementary. Second type, natural complementary, and the third type, acute to acute complementary. These are the different types of complementary remedies. So what is the example of acute to chronic complementary remedy? So in this, aconite is a acute remedy and his complementary remedy is sulfur, which is a chronic remedy. So aconite having a chronic complementary remedy, sulfur. Then also Bryonia is a acute remedy and its chronic complementary remedy is alumina. Then colocynth is acute remedy and his chronic complementary remedy is Staphysagrea. Also Hiparsulf is a acute remedy and silica is his chronic complementary remedy. So this is first type, acute to chronic complementary remedy, and this may need in these cases. That is, if you prescribe a Hiparsulf for a boil in acute condition, to complete the action of that acute remedy, or in that cases the case goes into a chronic condition, in that cases you need the complementary remedy of that Hiparsulf, and in this the silica is a chronic complementary remedy of Hiparsulf, so you need the second prescription as a silica. So this is use of complementary remedy. Then second type, that is natural complementary remedy. That is, in nature there is a presence of some natural complementary remedies. In these examples are antim tart having complementary remedy ipecac, then apis having complementary remedy natrum mur, then argentum nitricum having complementary remedy natrum mur, then stannum mate having complementary remedy pulsatilla, then phosphorus having complementary remedy carbovage. So these are the some natural complementary remedies that is present in nature. Then the third type is acute to acute complementary. What is the acute to acute complementary? That is, the first remedy also acute, second remedy is also acute, but these are a complementary. That is, to finish the action of a first remedy, you need the second remedy, that is complementary remedy. So when you give the Bryonia, the acute condition is subsided, but after some days there is appearance of again symptoms of that disease condition. In that case you may require a acute complementary remedy, and that may be a rust tox. So in this acute to acute complementary remedy having the examples like Bryonia to rust tox, then Baritacarp acute complementary to Dellcamara, then aconite having acute complementary of Hippar-Sulf, then arsenic having acute complementary to Thuja or Tarantula, then allium having acute complementary as a sulfur or a phosphorus, then phosphorus having acute complementary to carbovage and arsenic. So these are the different relationship of remedies, and that when the action of first remedy is complete, you have to need the second remedy, and that second remedy we can prescribe as a complementary remedy. So this is one of the type of second prescription, that is complementary remedy. And what is the indication of that complementary remedy is, that is if after a continued improvement for several hours or days by first prescription, the symptom do not completely disappear, rather there is a tendency to persist. That is, if you prescribe first remedy and patient is on the track of improvement, but there is not completely disappearance of symptoms, in that case you may need a complementary remedy to complete the action of that first remedy, that we call it as a complementary remedy. So in this, for example, during the dentition of children, some gets fever and convulsions relapsed after being relieved by belladonna. That is, during dentition of children, some gets fever and convulsion relapsed after being relieved by belladonna. They need the calcarea carb as a complementary remedy. That is, you are prescribing the belladonna, but the symptoms are reappeared again and again. In that case, the patient having a relief, but there is a reappearance of that symptoms or not complete recovery of that symptom. In that case, you need a complementary remedy, and that complementary remedy may be a calcarea carb. That is, belladonna having a chronic complementary remedy, calcarea carb. So this is the indication of complementary remedy. So all of you understand about the complementary remedy, one of the type of second prescription, that is complementary remedy. Yes, are you understanding? Yes, I am not able to listen your voice. Please chat. Are you able to listen me? Yes. Are you listen me?
Yes, ma'am.
Understand about complementary remedy?
मैम तुमचा आवाजच नाही आला.
मैम अभी तक नहीं आया आवाज, अभी आ रहा है.
कॉम्प्लीमेंट्री रेमेडी सुना ही नहीं आपने?
नाही मैम.
मैम आपकी आवाज ही नहीं आ रही थी.
अहो मॅम, तुम्ही ऑडिओ कनेक्ट चालू नाही केले म्हणून आवाज येत नाही होता तुमचा.
हो, मग तुम्ही मेसेज करायचा ना मला. एवढ्या वेळ विनाकारण बडबड
अहो
करत होते का?
मॅम, आम्हाला वाटलं की तुम्ही बात
काहीतरी सर्च
करता
करता.
कुठे फोन आलाय म्हणून.
तसं थोडीच आहे, विचारायचं तरी ना.
सोनल बोलते थांबा मी कॉल करते.
अरे मेसेज करायचं ना याच्यावरती. मी एवढा वेळ मी विसरले ते ऑडिओ कनेक्ट करायचं, आणि मी बडबड करत राहिले एवढा वेळ.
मॅम सोनलला बोललो आम्ही, बोल की. ते बोलते कॉल करते थांबा.
मेसेज करायचं तर दिसतोय ना मला मेसेज.
केलेलं ना मी मेसेज तुम्हाला.
हो मी आता बघितला तो.
अहो मॅम तुम्ही पण तेवढे लक्षात होते, आमच्या पण इकडे लक्षात होतं की ऑडिओ कनेक्ट काय नाही, ऑडिओ कनेक्ट काय नाही.
बरं जाऊ द्या. The next type of second prescription that is
मॅम तुम्ही ते पाठवा, YouTube वर पाठवा, आम्ही ऐकणार आहे.
हो ते ऐकणारच आहेत तुम्ही. मग रिपीट करू की नको कॉम्प्लिमेंटरी रेमेडी?
करा मॅम.
नका मॅम, झोपू द्या.
सगळे एकदाच बोलले तर नाही आवाज येत मला.
करा मॅम.
ओके सो
सोनल बोलणार, सोनल.
सोनलचा आवाज नाही येते मला.
नाही करा, सोनल नाही बोलत ते लेक्चरला.
रेकॉर्डिंग सुरू आहे विजय. So complementary remedy means the remedy which we use to complete the action of a previous remedy, that we call it as a complementary remedy. So what Dr. Clark says about complementary remedy as, when a remedy has done all that it can in a case, then another remedy is likely to follow up and complete its action, both being related to the case. That is, when a remedy has done all that it can in a case, means remedy has to done it can done in that case, then another remedy is likely to follow up and complete the action, both being related in the case. That remedy requires some another remedy to complete the action of that previous remedy, but these both remedies must be in a relation to one another, that we call it as a complementary remedy. So Dr. Boni Hussain says some remedies are in harmony with others, the most similar ones as a rule as complementary remedies. That is, some remedies having relation to other remedies, and that relation may be of a type of a complementary. So in this there are different types of complementary remedies. So what are the different types of complementary remedy? They prescribe the three types of complementary remedy. So in this first one is acute to chronic complementary, second type natural complementary, and third type acute to acute complementary. So what is first type? Acute to chronic complementary means first remedy is acute and the complementary remedy is a chronic remedy. Then second type is natural complementary remedy. Natural complementary remedy means the remedy which is naturally present as a complementary remedy, that is remedy having a complementary remedy present in a nature. And the third type, that is acute to acute complementary remedy. So in this there is first remedy is also acute and the next remedy is also acute, that is acute complementary remedy. So understand these three types of complementary remedy. First acute to chronic complementary, second natural complementary, and third acute to acute complementary. So in this they also explain the examples of this acute to chronic complementary, then natural complementary, and third acute to acute complementary. So in this the first type, that is acute to chronic complementary, in these examples are first remedies aconite, that is acute remedy and having a chronic complementary remedy as a sulfur. Then bryonia is a acute remedy and having a alumina as a chronic complementary remedy. Then colocynth is a acute remedy and staphylos aureus as a chronic complementary remedy. In this hepar sulf is a acute remedy and silica is a chronic complementary remedy. So in this we will take example as a patient is suffering from a boils and you prescribe a remedy, that is hepar sulf, but to complete the action of that hepar sulf you need the silica, that is a chronic complementary remedy. Then the next type is natural complementary remedy, that is some remedies having a natural complementary remedy present in nature. So in this the examples are antim tart having complementary ipecac, apis having complementary natrum mur, argentum nitricum having complementary natrum mur, Then phosphorus having complementary remedy as carbovage. Then the third, that is acute to acute complementary. So what is acute to acute complementary? That is both remedies are acute remedies, and in these examples are Bryonia complementary to Rustox, Baratacar complementary to Dulcamara, then arsenic complementary to Thuja, allium complementary to phosphorus and sulfur, then phosphorus is complementary to carbovage and arsenic. So these are the different types of complementary remedy. Are you listening? Types of complementary remedy. First, acute to chronic complementary, second natural complementary, and the third acute to acute complementary. Are you listening?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so these are the types of complementary remedy. Now what is the indication of complementary remedy or indications for the complementary remedy? So in this, if after continued improvement for several hours or days by first prescription, the symptoms do not completely disappear, rather there is a tendency to persist. So this is the indication for the using of complementary remedy as a second prescription. That is, if you give a first prescription and that first prescription gives improvement in a patient for several hours or for several days, but there is not a complete disappearance of a symptom, or there is not a complete recovery of that case. So in that case, to complete the action of that first remedy, you need the next prescription as a complementary remedy to complete the action of a first remedy. So this is the indication of a complementary remedy, and in this they give the one example as during dentition of children, some get fever and convulsion relapsed after being relieved by belladonna. They need calcarea carb. That is, patient is suffering from fever and convulsion with a relapsed condition. That is, some days patient is free from complaint, after some time he having a fever and convulsion, then again complaint subside, then having a relapsed condition, or patient suffering from a complaint. In that case, when patient giving the belladonna, it acting, or during that period patient is feeling well, but to complete the action or to give the complete cure to the patient, in that cases you need the calcarea carb remedy, as the belladonna having the complementary remedy as a calcarea carb to complete the action of that belladonna. So this is the one of the examples that is related to the complementary remedy as a second prescription. So understand about the complementary remedy. This is one of the type of second prescription. Yes, all of you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So in today's lecture we see what is mean by second prescription. Then we studied the need of second prescription, and third, that is types of second prescription. So in types of second prescription we studied the types in present in the PPT, that is repetition of the first, then change in potency, change in remedy, alteration of remedies, intercurrent remedies, isopathy and no source, and miasmatic remedies, and next type from the book, that is complementary remedy. So remaining 5 types we will continue tomorrow, that is antidotal remedy, then again repetition of the remedy, change of remedy, what is description given in a book, or cognate remedy, or change of remedy, or a change of potency of that remedy. So these remaining 5 types we will study in tomorrow's lecture. So what we studied in today's lecture, all of you understand? Any difficulty regarding this?
No, ma'am.
So tomorrow I will ask question to everyone, that is regarding the second prescription, what we studied up till now. That is, what is mean by second prescription, need of second prescription, and types of second prescriptions from the PPTs. And remaining part we will continue tomorrow. Yes, is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So okay, we will stop here. Siddhi, please send me attendance. Siddhi, send me attendance, Siddhi.
हो मॅम घेतलंय.
Okay, so we will stop here and I'm going to end the meeting.
हो
Yes, we will stop here and continue tomorrow the next part of second prescription. So okay everyone, bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Bye bye.